Hello friends, welcome to Dr. Ossai Physiology Academy, DOPA for short. This is the place where we make the learning of physiology easy, exciting, and effective. Thank you for joining me. If you're new to this channel, you're especially welcome. And if you love the content that we share, kindly click the like button and also the subscribe button. And don't forget to turn on notifications so I don't get to miss any new content that we drop. Right, let's get started. So we are continuing with the introduction to physiology. We've done the part 1. What is physiology? What is life? Now, the organization of the body, the human body. What do we mean by the organization? Remember, first of all, that actually when human life wants to start, how does it start? A man and a woman meet together, they have sexual intercourse, and the sperm as the male gamete, okay? It's called the male gamete, sperm. It's a cell, actually. The sperm is a cell. The sperm, and then the female, we call it egg. Or let's use the word oocyte. We can also use the word ovum. It talks about the female gamete. Yeah, called gametes. Okay? Gamete means sex cells. So these two things here, they are cells, both of them, sperm and ovum. They are cells. So what happens is that when they meet like that, the man injects sperm into the woman. The sperm combines with this one to form a new cell. Okay? It forms a new cell known as zygote. The zygote is one cell. It's just two cells. They are like half coming together to form one. The zygote is one single cell. So that's how you came about, from just one single cell, from mother, father, joined together to form one cell. Then what happens? Division continues to happen, divide, and growth. But if just division and growth happens, you would have just been a pile of cells, useless. Okay? Just be a whole pile of cells. But that's not what you are. You have a hand, you have eyes, you have ears, you have different parts that look differently, that are shaped differently, that perform different function. So that is what we're going to be looking at, the organization. How come one cell became trillions of cells that are different, performing different functions? Let's remind ourselves with this purposes, okay, of life. Those purposes, they are related to the characteristics, okay, that has to be present for you to say this thing is living. Okay, movement, respiration, nutrition, irritability, growth, excretion, reproduction. Okay, so now these things are performed by the cell. The cell has the capacity to perform all this function. But now the cell needs to, a cell is invisible. You can't see the human cell. But now it grows, multiplies, becomes more complex, that is visible, the human being. Okay? But then, for it to still be living, it needs to have all these functions, all these different purposes, 7 of them. So as you are like this now, perform all these functions as a whole organism, not just a cell, trillions of cells. But then there's a process that happens. That process is called what? Differentiation. As the cells, they are multiplying, becoming more. They start changing shape and form. It's called differentiation. Okay, so they start changing shape as they are changing shape, changing their properties, changing form, different forms. Those different forms they are changing to are aligning each with these functions. Okay? So groups of cells that change their shape and form, and they have similar properties. They perform similar functions. Together, they are known as what? Tissues. So from cells, we now have tissues. Okay? We're talking about the hierarchy, organization of the body. It's in hierarchy till you have the whole full organism. Okay? So different cells, they form tissues. Now, different tissues that also perform similar function. Okay? Similar function that is still related to these 7 basic purposes and characteristics. They come together in one entity to form what is known as organ. Example of an organ is what? The heart, the lungs, the liver, kidney. Okay? It's an organ. So tissues perform this similar function. They aggregate, combine, come together in one entity called organs. Called an organ. Now, also, sometimes some organs also come together, okay, to perform one overall function. That's the next level of organization. To now form what is known as an organ system, or you can just simply call it a system. Okay? Call it an organ system. All right? So this is the levels of organization. Then when the different systems combine, they now give you the organism, which is your whole body. Different systems. So you now have the heart, okay, combines with other organs. The heart is one organ, combines with other organs to perform a particular function. Okay? It's now called a system. So these are the different levels how the body is organized through differentiation. And we said what differentiation is: a change in the structure, the shape, the form, the properties. Shape, properties. Okay? When they change together, those that perform similar function. Because once something changes its shape, its function changes. We'll talk about that under the principles. Very important. So, but basically, when cells have differentiation, they form so many different types of cells, different types of tissue. But we have been able to now look at them, classify them under 4 broad kinds of cells and tissues. Okay? That when you look at tissues, you can say, it belongs, when you look at the properties, it belongs to this kind of, performs this kind of function. There are 4 broad types of tissues and cells. One of them, number 1, you have muscle tissue or muscle cell. Number 2, you have what we call epithelial tissue. Okay? Another one, number 3, you have nervous tissue. And finally, number 4, you have connective tissue. So muscle tissue, they are tissues that they have the ability to contract okay, and relax. Epithelial tissue are tissues that cover, okay, they cover the structure, covering as a lining, okay, covers surfaces. Nervous tissue, a tissue that conduct electricity. They are necessary for reacting to changes in the environment. They can detect changes and respond, conduct electrical impulses. Nervous tissue. Then you have connective tissue. Connective tissues, they connect different cells together. They are like cement. You understand? For example, you have different grains of sand. They are scattered. No strength. But once you put water and especially put cement, they now hold together to form a block. So connective tissues, they do the same thing. They hold the tissues and cells together. Okay? So these are the 4 broad types of tissues. Now we've talked about all this system to the organism. Now, what are the different systems? Because when you're learning physiology, apart from the fact that you're going to learn the cell, the nitty-gritty of the cell, so that you can understand the mechanism, okay, of the function and all the processes. At the same time, all the different systems and organs, they function all to one purpose. All this different function is also together in one organism for one purpose. So they are coordinated together. They don't function independently, just by themselves, alone, in isolation. They are together. They cooperate together. So when you are reasoning as a physiologist to understand the function of the human being, okay? Because, for example, you are treating somebody as a medical practitioner. You're not just treating only finger. You're treating the whole person. You're trying to look at the relationships, the interactions, okay, that go on within the different entities which have been grouped into organs and systems. All right? So we're going to be looking at those systems because when studying physiology, apart from studying the cell, understanding what happens in the cell, we also understand the system at the systemic level. So 2 perspectives and 2 approaches, cellular and systemic. So we're going to be looking at the different systems of the human body. We're going to be listing them and their functions after this break. All right, welcome back. So now we're going to be looking at the systems, and all those systems, they are related to these 7 characteristics. Now let's mention them. 1, no, this one is movement. Okay, so you have the musculoskeletal system. Okay, it's a combination of 2 words, muscle and skeleton. That's the system that enables you to move, locomotion. All right. So next one, respiration. So you have number 2, respiratory system. Okay. So respiratory system has to do with taking in air, taking out air. But in the real sense of it, it's using oxygen in order to liberate energy. It has to do with energy. Okay? And when it does that, the waste product that comes is carbon dioxide and it takes it out. So that system is organized to be able to handle that. Right? So the next one, nutrition. So we'll call that digestive system. Digestive system. Or you can call it gastrointestinal system. We also call it so the next one, irritability, which is the ability to respond to stimuli. Okay? And stimuli has to do with changes. When there's a change in the environment, detects it and responds appropriately to that change. That's irritability. And then you have the nervous system, the ability to respond to stimuli. But first of all, when we are talking about response to stimuli, what happens is conduction of electrical impulses to pass message across so that there can be a response. Okay, from the point of detection of the change, then passes message, interprets it, and then leads to a response. The communication is effected. And this nervous system is through the electrical means of communication. There's another means of communication, a chemical means of communication. And there's a system that does that. It's called the endocrine system. Endocrine system. Okay? Both of them they perform similar function. The one is electrical means, the other one is chemical means of communication. Right? So growth is related to nutrition. For growth is the addition of resources. Okay? Addition of resources, which comes from nutrition. So they're related. Okay? So there's no growth system. Right? So, but now excretory system. Number 6, you have excretory system, which has to do with expelling waste, what is no longer needed, what can harm the body. The process of transformation through chemical reactions have taken place. And you now have waste products, byproducts. They need to be expelled. The excretory system is organized to take care of that. You can also call it renal, because that's the major. Renal system has to do with the kidneys, the major organ that does a lot of this excretion. You have the excretory system. Then also you have reproductive system. Okay, number 7, reproductive system. Reproductive system has to do with a regeneration of life. That's one life, one organism, one cell now gives rise to another of its kind. Okay? Gives birth to another. That's reproduction. So that life can continue to be sustained. Okay? That's reproductive system. Now we still have other systems that are supportive of these basic functions. One of them is called cardiovascular system or circulatory system. Okay? Number 8, call it circulatory system. Because the body is big, but these resources that come from nutrition and also the waste that come from the process that needs to be excreted, they need to go around the body. Transportation. So circulatory system has to do with transportation of resources, different resources, okay, through the blood. The blood is the medium of transportation. So circulatory system has the heart that pumps the blood, brings about the force so that it can transport. Then blood vessels, arteries, veins, capillaries, they are the ones that now conduct and transport. So that's what the circulatory system do. So it's also called cardiovascular. Cardio, heart, vascular, blood vessel. Okay, let's write it here. Cardiovascular system. Okay, then we have another one, that you have an organism that is exposed to the environment. There are many other tiny little microorganisms that can gain entrance to the body and can harm the body and threaten the existence. But the body has protective mechanisms. So that whole protective mechanism put together, we call it immune system. Okay? Immune system. Okay? So also there's another one. It's not so important like that. We don't discuss it so much. But sometimes we can also call it a system. It's called a lymphatic system. Okay? Number 10, lymphatic system. So what does lymphatic system do? It drains excess fluid, water from the body. Okay? All cells are surrounded by water, tissues are surrounded by water. So excess water that is drained, if it's not drained, it can cause swelling. So this lymphatic system has to do it. It drains that excess water and returns it back to the bloodstream where it should be. Okay? So it helps to regulate the water content in between the cell to avoid swelling, which we call edema. We're going to learn all that later on. So these are the systems, all right? The different systems. So this is how the body is organized. From hierarchy to hierarchy, level to level, cell, tissues, organs, systems, and divided into this. So when you are talking about physiology, all of this, they function hand in hand. The nervous system relates to the excretory system, relates to the reproduction. All of them, they all function to do what? To perpetuate life, to make that living organism to be healthy, to be strong, to survive, and to reproduce after its kind. Those are the purposes. Survival. Number 1, health. Number 3, reproduction. So they all work hand in hand, function together to ensure this, and to ensure this last one. So that is how the body is organized to function. Right? So now I have a book here called General Physiology, made ridiculously simple. And other books in physiology, about 7 of them as at the time of this shooting. So you can check the link in the description box. You see the link to download the soft copy and the link to also get the hard copy. They are all there. And also you see the link to our website where you can get to know more about what we do to make the learning of physiology easy, exciting, and effective. See you in the next video.